el Cholo Trucker here, Los Tres Chingones Boxing. Shouts to all the chingones y chingonas, man. What's up, Anthony Dos Matador? Rod, what's going on? Hey, man, prayers for Mikey, all right? He needs to get better, man. You guys already know what's going on with him. Saludos to our man, Mike Zavala. Let's bring in El Gran Chingon, El Mero one, Mr. David Contreras.
Hey, brother, what's going on, man? Hey, I'm looking forward to talking with our guest about our favorite subject, boxing, man. It's all yours, brother. Listo.
Yeah, we're going to talk some putazos y pendejadas, man. Hey, here to jump on with us, man. We got two other chingones jumping on right here with us, man. You guys can go check out their boxing channel. It's called Putazos y Pendejadas. That's right. That is a badass name, man. I love that name. Putazos y Pendejadas. Let's go ahead and bring in my man, David D.
What's going on, fellas? ¿Qué pasa,
What's
Rafa?
up, brother?
Hey, glad to have you on, man. Glad to have you on.
And I see respect to you guys, man. We've been watching you for a while, man. We like what you guys are doing. Thank you for having us on.
Oh,
Thank
gracias,
you, bro. It's an
man.
honor.
Highly appreciate that. Highly appreciate that. And just seeing this man's name, I think he's like a multi-platinum artist, and he also dated J-Lo. One, Mr. Mark Anthony.
How you guys doing? Mucho gusto.
Hey, brother. What's going on, man?
¿Qué tal? ¿Qué tal? Mucho gusto, man. Big fans.
Mucho gusto.
Hey, man, I like your guys' channel, man. I like the video that you just dropped about the Japón, man, out there doing it up. He's 25 years old, really coming up, knocking dudes out at 5'7", fighting at a real low weight class, man. But I like how you're covering that. So a lot of fighters over there don't really get too many recognition, man, but good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Gule Joaquin, shouts to the 505 in New Mexico, homie. Yeah, man. Hey, everybody send their prayers over to Mikey, man. He's still trying to get better. So, Mike Zavala, we're with you, carnal. What's up, JC?
Soon, Mike. Get well soon.
What's up, JC?
Let's go ahead and let's just get into it, guys. Let's go ahead and recap a little bit about what happened with Smith getting stopped, man, losing to Chris Eubanks Jr. Now, the first time they fought, some people said that, hey, you know what? It was a lucky punch. I wasn't really on board with that. But after seeing this, I'm like, okay, maybe it was a lucky punch. But, David, what did you see, man?
You know what, brother? I've been so busy this week. I've been traveling a lot. I didn't even get a chance to see it, man. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and hear you guys talk about it. I didn't get a chance to see it.
David D., what do you make about Eubanks and Smith going at it for the second time, and it was a completely different fight from the first one?
Yeah, the first one ended really quick, and the last one, I think it went into the 10th round, right? This last one. I had to catch highlights too. I didn't catch it live myself, but there was a lot going into the first fight. There was a lot of talk of Eubanks struggling to make the weight, and that's why he kind of, took an early nap on the first fight. Second time around, now we're hearing that it's Smith who had trouble making weight. He claimed to be, 20, 30 pounds overweight. So he struggled to make weight, and it showed in the fight. Honestly, I always thought Eubank was a little bit better fighter when it just comes to talent, overall talent. Smith always had the heart. What can I say, man? I think, I don't know if people want to see a trilogy. I think you always have to take a fight like that. Like when one fighter wins one, another fighter wins another. You gotta sell it with a third one. Eubank, of course, again, I think he's trained by Roy Jones. You can see the influence of Roy Jones in his fighting style. I just see him being the more talented fighter in that fight, and it kind of showed.
Yeah, he just switched it up from Roy Jones, man. Mark, what's your take on this fight? And should there be a third fight?
There should, because on the first fight, this is what we expected. I really expected it to turn out exactly the way it turned out. Now we got what the fight really should have been. And yeah, I think we need a third fight. 1-1-1. We need a rubber match. It's always going to sell good. And they're both big stars out there. It'll make money. It makes sense. I don't think any of them are going to show out the way they showed out with each other with any other fighters. I don't think Eubanks or Smith has any other contenders that they're going to look good with, but they're good names and they're very popular, so it makes sense.
Hey, Ed, you
Yeah.
saw the fight, right? Did you see a big difference with Eubanks? Because Bomac had an influence over him, and he was also at the fight, and he also was part of his training camp. Did you see any? I mean, like I said, I didn't get a chance to even see the highlights. Did you see some flash of Bomac's training, some Crawford flash in him in this fight?
Yeah, and we're definitely gonna get to Bomac in just a second. You know, David, I didn't really see too much of a difference, man. I mean, I know his hero was Roy Jones Jr., and that's who was training him, and that's not who's training him. Now it's Bomac. I didn't really see too much of a difference, which leads me to believe that the first fight was a little bit of a lucky punch, you know. But nonetheless, look, lucky punch or not, if it happens, it happens, man. It's inside the ring. Bada bing, bada boom, Holmes. You get caught, you get caught. Lucky punch or not, y ya estufas. David, should there be a third match? Because there's 1-1. Should there just automatically, in your mind, be a third match
I think it should be in 5 years.
in 5 years?
Yes, I'll tell you why in 5 years. Because Bomac's going to be out of prison in 5 years. So we want to see if we want to see him look the way he did Saturday in 5 years. Let's watch it.
Look, I mean, it's, you know, if anybody remembers back just a little bit, there was that whole thing of a fight going on that was going to happen between Conor Benn, my boy Conor Benn, and Chris Eubanks, which was completely just out of left field. Now they're starting to revisit that again. Why? I don't know. That's a little bit odd to me, but they're looking to revisit that. Does that fight happen? I don't. I want to say no, but at the same time, that will sell, at least over there. It'll sell, you know, a lot. So, Mark, real quick, what do you want to see next from Chris Eubanks? Do you want to see that Conor Benn fight, or do you think they should jump right back in with the Liam Smith trilogy?
I think they should jump right back into the Liam Smith trilogy.
Yeah.
Wins that, and then there's a bigger payday for the Conor Benn showdown.
Okay. David D.
David D.
Yeah. Tocayo, right? With Tocayo. Yeah, no, man. I think the trilogy kind of settles it. I imagine that the market for that fight would still be big in the UK. They always support their fighters. And the only problem I have with the Conor Benn fight is like Conor Benn's a welterweight. And, you know, he's would need to move up to 160 because Eubank is a 168-pound fighter. That's where he generally fights. He moved down for Liam Smith. He was in better shape for this one. He was able to fight at 160 for this fight. He made the weight safely without any issues. But I don't know how that negotiation would take place with Conor Benn being a welterweight, having to move up to possibly 160 to fight Eubank. So I still think that needs a little bit of time to build up. That could be a huge fight though in the future.
Yeah.
You know what? They were going to fight. They were going to fight right before he tested positive for steroids.
For the steroids.
For the eggs. Eating too many
It was werewolves, man.
That's right. Yeah.
But you know what? On my boy, Conor Benn.
They were supposed to fight at a catch weight, I believe, at 157. And they both had signed on at a catch weight of 157.
If they do that, I gotta say Eubanks got the advantage there because that's a lot of weight to cut for Eubank. I'm surprised he agreed for that. So they may want to revisit those negotiations going in the future.
Yeah.
Does that fight? You know what? I think that fight does happen. I don't know if it happens next, but I think it does happen because that fight does sell across the pond. Maybe to people over here on this side, we're all saying like, that's a funny fight. That's a weird fight. Why are you doing that fight? But over there, it's gonna sell, man. It's gonna sell big time. So, well, we'll see what happens, man. I mean, it was a good scrap. I enjoyed it. Should they do it again? Yeah, I think they should be a trilogy between Liam Smith and Chris Eubanks Jr. But yeah, just seeing the fight, I'm convinced that it was kind of a lucky punch that Liam Smith just kind of landed. But with that, let's go ahead and let's get to the meat on the bone, man. It came out that Bomac was incarcerated across the pond. Details are a little bit sketchy for me, but that he was busted with a cohete. He had a strap on him, and he's incarcerated. And it looks like he could be actually facing some time. David, you were in law enforcement for many, many years in the United States, in Mexico. Have you ever came across law enforcement on that side of the world, man? And what's your thoughts on all this, man? And any details that you got?
As a matter of fact, it's funny. When I was working in internal affairs, one of our lieutenants who was working the narcotics task force went to visit or went to a conference in London. And this idiot takes his gun to London, and they placed him under arrest. We were able to bring him back. I worked on that case. We were able to bring him back, but because he was law enforcement and going to a law enforcement conference, we never got the gun back, but we were able to bring him back. With that said, I had that experience. I was working on that case. This case, I did my own little investigation. I think it was May of this year, Presidente López Obrador's very good friend, another 74-year-old idiot who has a mansion in Mexico, decides to go to London and somehow or another forgets that in his duffel bag, I guess he has a duffel bag, gym bag, he had, once again, a handgun fully loaded. When he got there, they placed him under arrest. They put him in jail. There's no bail, no hotel. Somebody mentioned it's very true in England. They put him in jail. Within 30 days, they sentenced him to 2 years, 24 months, state prison. López Obrador had to make phone calls. They finally were able to convince some magistrate, that's what they're called, the judge's magistrate, to release him on probation. I think it was an 8-year probation with a 24-month prison suspended, but just for the gun. Now, with Bomac, two things. One, how did he get the gun in? If he went through customs and it wasn't a private jet, there's going to be a lot of heads rolling wherever he boarded that plane because that gun was with him. Now, knowing that he had the gun over there, I don't know if you know, but he didn't have it on his person. He had it in his luggage, and the luggage actually went through security, and that's when they found it. He's looking at the minimum 2 years, maximum 5 years prison sentence. To be honest with you, Ed and guys, it'll be a miracle if he's able to come back in 2 years. It'll be a miracle. But one thing I do know, that when he comes back, he's going to be a lot thinner and no longer have diabetes. It'll be a blessing. It'll be a blessing.
Okay. David D. All right. So we now know it's came down, man. Spence has activated his rematch clause. Bomac is not going to be there. It doesn't look like he's going to be there, man, for Crawford. What's your thoughts on this whole situation with Bomac, and now that Crawford has to get into the ring with Spence again?
Well, that's really interesting. Me and Mark were kind of talking about this before, and he's like, Crawford doesn't need the guy. And I'm thinking, I don't know, man. Bomac, yes, Crawford, they have a whole team behind them, right? If Bomac needs to be out for this training camp, I'm pretty sure they have a whole team that can kind of take the place of Bomac and help Crawford out with the preparation for it. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if it gets delayed somewhat. I've been hearing like conspiracy theories on YouTube that this was kind of a setup and they're trying to get Crawford to be without one of his major teammates. I don't believe any of that. I clearly think this was just a mistake. It was a really bonehead move by Bomac. I could see Crawford delaying the fight because of this, but I mean, if contractually, it depends on the language of the contract, right? Like the rematch has to happen if the loser activates it. but how and when it kind of depends on the contract language. So I could see it going both ways, either a delay or Crawford goes through with it without Bomac.
Okay, Mark.
I mean, David's wrong. No, life's gonna go on. They don't care. Crawford is 36 years old. There's no delaying nothing, man. He doesn't need this guy. He already knows what to do. It's not like if he's not talking to Bomac. Bomac's probably gonna have some type of communication, kind of guide him. That team has been together for a long time. They know what to do. They're gonna be fine. The rematch is gonna happen. He's gonna whoop Spence's ass really easy. He's gonna go on to Canelo. That's what's gonna happen.
All right, Mark. Remember Rocky 3?
Oh, we're getting ahead of
Remember Rocky 3?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember Rocky
When
3.
Mickey got sick and he was about to fight
Clubber
Clubber
Lang,
Lang?
man.
Okay, do you remember that? What did Mickey say?
Jeez,
Rocky goes, Adrian, what do I do? What do I do? I can't go in. I can't go. And Mickey goes, you don't know what to do after 20 years. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
What happened?
That's Crawford's mind. He knows what to do.
Yeah. So what happened? Clubber knocked him out.
This is not Clubber Lang, guy. This is not Southside Clubber Lang.
It's Errol Spence, not Clubber Lang.
No lo sacas de ahí. You're not going to get him out of that. Let's just move on with their show because we're going to take it over fighting here.
No, hey, ¿sabes qué? You know one thing though, the Mexicano from Mexico that he has in his corner, ese chaparrito.
He knows.
I'll tell you, that guy, he taught him Manuel Marquez's moves. So I think that, you know what, that Chaparro is going to take it over because he's part of the Dreamers. He's one of the Dreamers. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah.
I'm just messing around. I don't know if he's a dreamer or not.
No,
but now his dream came true.
Correct.
His dream came true.
I think
very
he's
capable. He's very capable of running the corner.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. He's capable. And his dream came true.
There's footage of him working with Crawford since he was a teenager.
Yes.
Amateurs.
Okay.
Yes.
So that guy is a heart and soul, one of the heart and souls of that team.
Exactly. He is Mexicano. And you know what, guys? I don't know if you guys heard. I don't know if it's true or not. But did Spence fire Derek James? Is he going with a new coach? Did you guys hear that, or is it just rumors?
There's talk about him hiring Roy Jones.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know though, man, because
he already reached out to Boots Ennis. He's gonna pay Boots Ennis $500,000 to get him ready.
Those are rumors.
No, really?
To spar?
Really?
I don't know if the money's correct, but
yeah,
I believe he's contacting him.
I heard that same figure, Mark.
Yeah,
500,000.
Man, that's a lot of money to give somebody to give you chingazos.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
Wow.
let me ask you guys, man. Is Spence like a big superstar in Texas?
You're damn right he is. I went all the way over there for nothing.
Really?
No, I think Spence is very popular in Dallas, man.
Yes, man. Yeah,
but I mean, you have big box. Texas is a big boxing state. People love boxing in Texas. You can walk into barbershops, anywhere, and you'll end up talking boxing with people.
And then Houston is a monster on its own. They love boxing over there. It's almost like an LA. They're their own people. They have their own, they don't have to leave Houston to find sparring. They all spar together. Different races. Houston is just its own animal, man. If you're from Texas, if you're from Houston, you're from Houston. You're not from Texas. You're from Houston.
What about San Antonio? We hear San Antonio. Bam Rodriguez. Those guys. Is that as big as it is in Houston?
Nah.
Really?
Nah, Houston.
That's not to say that there isn't talent in San Antonio. There's a lot of talent. I mean, Robert Garcia, he was setting up an academy in San Antonio.
Yeah, you got Jesse James Leja.
Right. So I think the market is bigger in Houston because it's a lot bigger city and it's a bigger fight town. But when it comes to boxing, man, you can find a lot of good quality sparring in a lot of Texas.
Yeah, but you have a lot of USA boxers living in Houston from all over the country. Houston is a big city.
Yeah, and Mark, like I was telling you, two of my favorite fighters today are from Texas. Bam Rodriguez, who's going to be fighting Sonny Edwards, and Virgil Ortiz, which I'm still not sure what's happening with him. But Yeah,
Yeah.
man, that's my favorite fighter.
That's
But
my
man.
boy, man. That's my boy.
have you guys heard anything that being from Texas? Have you guys heard any updates from him?
All I hear is he's very, very sick. I mean, and it's irreparable, but he's gonna go on.
Yeah, the last thing I heard is he is planning on continuing. It's not from him. This is mostly from promotional Golden Boy. He's planning on continuing his career at a higher weight, obviously 154, possibly 160. I wish him the best, man. I had a lot of high hopes for Virgil. I thought he was going to be a big star, and I thought he was ready to take over welterweight and junior middleweight at some point.
Yeah, I was looking forward to a big showdown between him and Terrence Crawford, but I don't know, man. Looks like we'll probably not get that. But any last thoughts on Bomac, man? Before we move on, he's just gonna be
He's gonna be forgotten, man.
He's gonna get forgotten, right?
No, he's not gonna be forgotten.
They're gonna be forgotten,
man. It's over.
He's gonna be forgotten.
Look, he will either do some time in the UK or they'll work something out and get him to come back to the States and he'll be banned. I kind of see that happening more than anything.
It's gonna be real hard for him to find a car to run with over there, no?
It's gonna be hard for him to find Cheetos. Who's gonna send him the Cheetos?
I didn't want to say the Cheeto comment, man. I was
thinking
thinking it though.
Cheetos, you know? Yeah.
Oh man, he's gonna have a tough time. Maybe he'll start his own car, Holmes. You know, he'll start his own car.
The prisons over there are real bad, man.
Are they really?
What's that mean? There's no danger but the food and nobody.
Va a perder peso, el panzón.
You're in
El
another.
panzón's gonna lose some weight. It's good for him, you know.
You know, man. Hey, man. Hopefully everything goes well for him. But I do believe that he will be forgotten. You know, until it's time for him to come back, then everyone's gonna be like, "Oh man, that's right. He's been locked up this entire time." So,
Hey, so if he was going to be the trainer of the year, can he still get that in lieu of?
I'm sure. Yeah. I don't know.
So we send him to Juanito to pick up the trophy, right? The dreamer.
Hey, fellas. Moving along, man, let's get into a lot of the chisme, a lot of the news that's out there. One thing is this. It's official now. Shakur Stevenson will be fighting Frank Martin. Kind of a weird date, man. They're fighting on a Thursday, November 16th. But they've both signed the contract. They're going to make that happen. David, what do you make of this fight, man? Frank Martin, I've been saying there's two guys to watch out at 135 that are really not that popular. Cameron Zapata and Frank Martin. And now Frank Martin is getting in there with Shakur Stevenson. What's your thoughts on that?
Easy fight for Shakur. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why. When Shakur just finished fighting this guy, Chakadurian or whatever he was, dude, this guy danced all over him. It went 12 rounds. I think it was 12 rounds. It was a boring fight. Frank did not know how to cut off the ring. And if this guy from wherever he was, Chakadurian, was able to do that, you know what? If there's a master at leg work and also at foot speed and also moving around the ring, it's Shakur Stevenson. He's going to have a hard time clipping him because he's going to be too fast for him. It's going to be actually a boring fight. It's not going to be a great fight because Shakur Stevenson is not a knockout puncher. So it's going to be a boring fight, but I got Shakur easy on this one.
All right, let's get to your tocayo. What's your thoughts on this,
David?
I'm pretty high on Shakur. I think Shakur is an amazing talent, and I actually like Frank Martin. I think he's a good 135 pounder. You know, top 10 fighter. He has some dog in him. You know, he can bite down on his mouthpiece, and he will give you what he's got to try to win the fight. I actually think what would you call the guy that his last opponent? I forgot his name too, but
Chadukarian or something. It was a Chudakerin, something like that.
I thought that guy was better than people realized. Like he was a former Olympian, I believe, right? Yeah. So just because people didn't know him didn't mean he wasn't a good fighter. And he gave Martin some tough rounds. But Martin showed his grit and his toughness towards the end of the fight. So I do rank Martin pretty high, but Shakur is just on another level, man. And I too envision him beating Martin. But I do think there will be some interesting moments in the fight.
Okay. Anthony, I'm not sure what you mean by BWO, but Frank Martin, is he biting off a little more than he can chew?
Absolutely, man. But it's he doesn't lose if he loses. He's going to lose to Shakur Stevens. And if he just looks a little bit sharp against Shakur Stevens, that's a win in my book, because that's how good Shakur Stevens is, man. I'm high on him as well. Como la gente dice, Shakur's otro pedo.
A huevo.
Yeah.
Simón.
Yeah. I agree, man. I think Shakur is an elite fighter. I think he's young. I think he's kind of immature. And honestly, man, his worst enemy is probably him. He probably needs to start hanging around with some different people, man. This guy has been around situations where they're letting off cuetiazos and all that kind of stuff, man. And that can end up biting him in the wrong place, not just in his career, but in life, man. So, this kid has all the skills, man. This kid can go very, very far and possibly could be the next big thing. I understand there's people that don't like him. He's got a nice big smile and everything, but man, this guy's got skills inside the ring. So do I think Martin is as skillful as him? No, but I think he is definitely a hard worker. I think he's a dog. I think the guy's a warrior, and I think he's going to give it everything he's got. He's not going to quit on him, but I just don't think he's got the skills that Shakur has.
Hey, you know what, Ed? I would have loved to have seen him fight Raymond Muratalla or Camarón Cepeda. Now there, I would have said, so I was getting not 50-50, but I mean, I would have said, 30-70 or maybe 40-60, porque Raymond Muratalla fought the same Chino, I don't remember the vato's name, that Shakur Stevenson, and the guy went 12 rounds with Shakur, and Shakur won, but went 12 rounds. Raymond Muratalla knocked him out in the second round. So Raymond Muratalla is a real deal. I like that kid. He fights with Robert Garcia. And the other one, Camarón Cepeda. I mean, you and I, we saw him live. This vato should change his name from Camarón to Sniper Cepeda because every punch counted. Now, that's who I want to see fight Shakur Stevens.
That'd be good. That'd be good. I still think Stevens. I still think Shakur will find a way to win. But no, all good fights though. And I don't think this is a bad fight either. I think this is a good fight as well. My only thing is, does Frank Martin learn off this fight, or does he just get schooled and it just hurts him? That would be probably my only thing, because there are fighters that get into a fight and they're just completely outclassed and they didn't really learn anything. They're just like, damn, I didn't learn. It just kind of took away from me my confidence and everything. But hopefully he learns, because I like Frank Martin, man. So, well, we'll see what happens when this goes down. But moving along, man, with a lot of the cheese man that's going on. Okay, so this guy, man, look, I've been a fan of this guy. I think he's very entertaining. A lot of people hate him. A lot of people love him. He is a pretty damn big star. Tyson Fury is going to fight this Ngannou guy, right? I don't even know how to pronounce his name, the UFC dude. Okay. As time's going around, people are saying like, okay, maybe after that he could fight Usyk, or, people are still, having high hopes that we're going to see this fight. Tyson Fury comes out and he says after this guy, he wants John Bones Jones from the UFC. I don't know if this is true or if Tyson Fury was just blurting it out. But apparently, this Ngannou guy is making $10 million off this fight right here with Tyson Fury. Okay, I don't know if that's true or if Tyson Fury was just over there running his mouth. I don't know, but I'm sure he's getting paid pretty handsomely. I'll start with you, Mark. Man, what is going on here, man? Is boxing, are we starting to see the loss of boxing as we once knew it? Is this going to be something new? Because if this is true, man, a lot of these MMA, UFC guys are going to be running to have some boxing matches with some of these high-end boxers, which is an easy fight for the boxer, but because they're getting paid, man. Is this going to change boxing? And what's your thoughts about the heavyweight champion aside from Usyk? Or they're saying, hey, after I fight this MMA guy, I want this other MMA guy.
That's pretty disappointing to boxing fans, because even though I really don't care about Usyk and I don't think he's special at all, and David's gonna start getting mad here, people want to see Fury Usyk, and I don't know what Fury's doing at the moment. Seems like the last year he's just been fiddling around. I think he's content with his career. I don't even think he wants Usyk. I don't even think he's scared of Usyk, but I think he's scared of having to prepare for Usyk, because he's nowhere near prepared. I don't know if you've seen the press conferences. He's back to being huge. They're joking around. None of them are taking it serious. I don't even think his opponent is taking it serious. At this point, I think Fury is more of a sideshow, a circus show, and that is what I think of the heavyweight division anyway. That's why I'm not impressed with Usyk. But I do think that it does have the power to go that way if big stars like Fury start naming guys like Bones Jones, and now these YouTube fights and sport fighting is getting really popular. You look at the crowd of these fights, it's not the same celebrities, it's not the same crowd, it's not the same type of person, it's not the same traditional boxing fan, celebrity, or sports figure or not. You used to look at the crowd and you knew those guys were boxing fans. You see these fights, these YouTube fights, you see that crowd, they're a bunch of just not boxing fans. I think it's headed that way. And social media and the younger kids who really don't care about boxing just want to see some entertaining thing happen.
Freak show.
It's scary that it can go that way, and it probably will, man. We'll just start seeing a bunch of random people 20 years from now, 10 years from now, fighting each other for a bunch of money, and it's just going to get ridiculous. And the organizations will probably follow suit.
There's a lot of money there. David D, this is a long way from the heavyweight division that we once knew, with the Tysons and Riddick Bowe's and George Foreman's, Michael Moore's, Tommy Morrison. Talk to us about this, man.
Well, that heavyweight division has changed, man, because, people don't want to grow up to be heavyweight champ anymore. They want to get that multi-million-dollar contract in the NFL. So that's where our heavyweight champions are. They're playing linebacker for some other team. That said, Tyson Fury to me is like Mark. I agree with Mark actually on what he's saying. Tyson Fury's kind of putting a wrap on his career. He's not really taking his career seriously anymore. He's already made comments about not really caring about legacy, not, whatever. He says he doesn't care about money either, but he's definitely doing this for the money. And this to him is an easy money fight. You're always going to have people from UFC, as long as those fighters keep being underpaid the way they are, they're going to look for that big payday, because I guarantee you, Francis Ngannou, I think that's how you say it, that guy would have to fight multiple times to make $10 million if that is his purse. And it sounds like a reasonable purse to me for a heavyweight title fight. So you're always going to have that crossover when it comes to UFC and boxing. They're always going to be trying to poach. You have Sean O'Malley, the what is he, 130 pounder, 126 pounder? He just won a title recently. He's calling out Gervonta Davis, and he wants some of that. So those guys are always going to chase the payday. I think as long as those guys keep getting underpaid, they're always going to try to look for that crossover fight. Eventually, though, enough of them are going to get their ass kicked that it's not going to be worth it. I think, right? Because you kind of take a big hit. Look what happened to McGregor, right? McGregor crosses over, fights Floyd, gets his ass beat. He doesn't have that aura of invincibility anymore. And he hasn't even fought in how long? I don't know, right? So he's going through something because of that loss. And once these fighters come over to fighting in a sport that's not their sport, it's not their sport. They come over and they take losses like that. they're going to start thinking twice about it, I think. So I don't see it as becoming a fad or a trend. I think eventually it'll end because MMA is its own sport, boxing is its own sport, and people will learn to stay in their lane.
Okay. David, I mean, it's going to make a lot of money. So what's your thoughts on this, man? He's fighting this guy, and before he even fights him, he's already trying to line up a fight with another MMA guy.
You know what? Tyson Fury has a problem with cocaine. He's another Oscar de la Hoya. I mean, as soon as he gets up in the morning, he does his line, he gets on Twitter, and we don't know who we're seeing. Me, myself, or Irene. You know what I mean? I mean, this vato literally, he's schizophrenic. We don't know who's talking. Today, I mean, yesterday's, you know, when he met with this guy, he's taking off his shirt, panzota. I mean, this guy's even showing up his lonja on the side. I mean, this guy's a disgrace to boxing. And you know whose fault it is? It's WBC's fault because he's their representative. What they should do is just say, you know what, get the fuck out of here. We're taking your belt away from you, or else you fight Usyk, or we're taking the belt away from you. How are they going to sanction a fight with this guy, Nugua, whatever his name is? How are they going to sanction a fight like that? You know what I mean? This guy's even a professional boxer, and he's fighting for a world title. So I think it's the WBC that has, because that's the only belt he has. All they have to do is say, ¿Sabes qué? You're either going to fight him or we're taking the belt away. Stop this bullshit. Stop this. Porque, ¿sabes qué? This isn't the WWE. This is boxing, and they're actually making, you know, the hard work that Tyson, that Muhammad Ali, Marciano, that people look forward to it. This guy's making a mockery of it. Get out of here. Stay in England and become a gypsy in a circus. In a circus. Yeah, do what you do good. Be a gypsy in a circus.
Tell us how you really feel.
No, I 100% agree with David. It is on the WBC because you're talking about a guy who has not fought a professional boxing match and he's getting a shot at a world title.
Yeah, the organizations are going to go along with it.
Yeah, man.
And I don't think like boxing organizations are going to be in a rush to make their fighters fight other champions. But what they should do is make them fight their highly ranked contender that's in their rankings. Like there are guys who have records and have fought mandatories and have fought other ranked challengers, and yet they're not getting a shot at the title. This guy skipped the line. That's disgraceful to me.
Oh yeah, man. All these skipped the line, man. Like David said, he's over there partying with some coca, man.
But see, that's what happens every time you do coke, man. That's what happens. I swear to God.
Hey, wait a minute, man.
Every time,
every time I do coke, you get on that every time I do coke.
That's right, man. It goes straight to your brain, man, and messes it up, man. You're not gonna have a brain no more.
That's dope, man.
That's a good one.
You know, I think that's something that probably nobody's pointing out right there, right? Is that, hey, who is this dude from another sport? If you want to make this some sort of exhibition, that's fine. But you cannot be in an exhibition match while you're champion. How about that? If you want to have exhibition matches, you know, look, I'm all fine and dandy if once you retire, you want to have some of these fights. That's cool. I'm okay with that. But now while you are an active champion or even an active boxer, it's like, nah, man, we're not going to allow you to have some of these exhibition matches. And this isn't even an exhibition match. This is actually going to count. So it's like, well, wait a second, man. What did this dude do? He's coming from a whole nother sport. How is he jumping the line from all these heavyweights in boxing to get his title shot? Like, hey, man, this is pathetic, man. I can't fathom how pathetic this is. And then on top of that, for Tyson Fury to be saying like, hey, I want John Jones Bones next, man. Like, no, man. Okay, let me ask you. Let me pass you around to everybody right here. We'll start with you, David. Does Tyson Fury ever have an actual true boxing match ever again? He's gonna make a lot of money, especially if he lands the John Jones fight. That's gonna be another who knows how many $1 million a fight. Does he ever get in with another boxer again?
I'll tell you, he's stupid if he doesn't challenge Usyk. Now, after Usyk's last fight, I got Tyson before I had it, some here and there. Now I got Tyson Fury all the way. All he has to do is touch Usyk's body, which he will. Eventually, he would be undisputed. He would be undisputed. So if he'd be stupid if he doesn't go get Usyk in the ring and beat the shit out of him. He'd be stupid, if he doesn't do that. Whether he has to train or not, he will be undisputed. I mean, that's all he has to do. So will he fight Usyk? I think he will. I think after this one, I don't think it's going to go to Joe. I think he will. He'll become undisputed, and then he might decide to retire. Because I don't think the other sanctioning belts are going to let him play me, myself, and Irene. I think the other ones are going to say, you know what? No. Ya córtatelas.
Okay. Let's see what your tocayo has to say. Do we see Tyson Fury in another actual boxing match with a boxer?
The guy's already retired like 2 or 3 times. I wouldn't be surprised if he does fight another MMA fighter after this. I wouldn't be surprised if he were to retire again and just say to hell with it. He's a really erratic dude. He does a lot of weird shit, says a lot of weird shit, acts really weird sometimes. And you know what, David, I got to say, your confidence in him beating Usyk, I don't think Tyson shares that same confidence because he's been pushing those negotiations away and away and away and making all kinds of excuses and making all kinds of other stipulations to not fight a guy who, clearly he has advantages over. There's a reason for that. There's a reason. So I don't think Tyson is as confident as other people in him being Usyk. I wouldn't be surprised if he never takes a serious fight after this.
Okay, I'm sensing a pretty big Usyk fan here, man.
A little bit. I respect.
I'm an Usyk fan.
All right.
Oh, dude, I'm a big Usyk fan. Oh yeah, I like Usyk. But
I respect what he's done. Like it's no small feat, right? It's no small feat what he's done. It's very rare to see someone who dominated like he did at cruiserweight move up into heavyweight and beat actual heavyweights.
Champions, former champions. Yes.
Right, exactly. So you can count on your hand how many cruiserweights have done that on one hand. So that's a big deal.
Okay, Mark, you're sitting there like a caged lion, man, just ready to go out and attack a gazelle, man.
We've been through this with David already, man. He's not Michael Moore. He's not Evander Holyfield.
No, he's not.
That's been done before. It's nothing special. Usyk is not special, period. He's not. Tyson, at 70%, Tyson Fury can beat him if he's serious and maybe gets to 75%. I mean, he's huge. The movement. Tyson was special, but he's a partier. But Usyk is, if he fights Usyk, he'll kill Usyk. He'll beat him easily. And I don't think it motivates Fury. I don't think he has anything to gain if he beats him. And I think Fury's done. To answer the question, I don't think he's going to have a serious fight after this ever again. He's on Netflix. He's making a lot of money with that Netflix special. He's going to make a ton of money with this. To quote Ed, he talks a lot of masa. And, he's going to, probably promote a bigger, crazy WWE style stuff for the rest of his life. He doesn't need Usyk. Usyk is not special. He doesn't need him. And to answer the question, he's not going to fight another serious fight again.
Hey, David. Anthony, you don't see him wanting to be the undisputed. He's never been the undisputed.
I don't see him. With
really?
That. No tiene las ganas, bro. He's always talked masa. I love that line, bro. He's always talked shit, but before he used to talk shit real motivative, and his shit was fucking fun. When people talk shit, and he knew how to talk shit, and it was motivating. Like, I'm gonna kick your ass. Now he's just talking shit and still entertaining, but not in that I'm gonna kick your ass way. I'm the best. It ain't the same shit talking. He ain't motivated anymore. He's gonna go to the circus or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, let him retire in the circus. Monkey.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I've been a fan of Tyson Fury. I think he's a very great boxer. I do. For a guy his size, the way he moves, the way he's able to slip punches y todo, I'm very impressed. Look, I like Usyk, man, but I'm kind of with you, Mark. I don't really see anything that special with Usyk. I like him, you know. Yeah, he's a good fighter. Do I want to see the fight? Yes. Do I think the fight happens? No. By the way, I'll just go ahead and say this, man. This fight right here, I think is going to generate more money than he'd make if he fights Usyk.
Yeah.
If he fights John Jones, I think that fight makes more money than if he fights Usyk or anybody in boxing, with the exception. The one I think that kind of comes close is AJ, right? Because he's a big star as well. That's probably the exception, or it kind of matches, right? That's the one that rivals it. Any other boxer in the heavyweight division, including Usyk, even though it's going to be for all the straps, I don't think he makes as much money as if he fights John Jones next. I think that fight eclipses it when it comes to making feria. And by the way, Tyson Fury, you know, he's made appearances in the WWE. He makes money over there. They invite him over there all the time. He gets there, man. All he has to do is just show up, you know, run his mouth a little bit, talk a little masa, throw a punch, and they give him $1 million. So I don't think, honestly, man, if I had to put feria on it, I don't think we see him in a real actual fight with a real actual boxer. I think that's it, man. I think he fights this guy, and I do think he makes the John Jones fight. I do, because there's no other fight in the heavyweight division. Maybe AJ, maybe. And even with that, I would say the John Jones fight makes more money than the AJ fight. But that, and I think that's it, man. I think he hangs it up. So
yeah.
No, Cholo, I think you're right. I think that John Jones would be a huge, because you're going to get the UFC buyers and you're going to get the UK followers. The one thing that I would say, I think he does make money with Usyk because he has the Saudis behind him. And they're throwing big money at that fight. You know, they wouldn't sign Usyk if they didn't think that if they didn't have the money to put up to try to make him a big star. So it's not like Usyk, he's going to fight Usyk for pennies. He's going to make big money with Usyk. And again, the only thing I got to say, what does he win from beating Ngannou? You say he's not motivated enough to fight Usyk and unify the titles, something that he hasn't done yet. What's the motivation behind fighting Ngannou?
Money.
Yeah,
right.
Money.
And again, he'll make money fighting Usyk too, and get the titles.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he?
I don't think he's motivated with the straps, though.
But why doesn't he have? Huh?
I don't think the straps motivate this dude anymore.
So then you're saying that he can get money fighting Ngannou. He's gonna make money, probably the same, or if not more, fighting Usyk.
Yeah, but he has to get ready for Usyk
and getting it to so now you're telling me that he does have to be motivated to fight. He does.
I think he needs to get about 75% ready to beat Usyk.
Huh?
Well, also let me throw that. How about
75% ready to beat Usyk?
Okay, let me come from it from this point of view. Okay, when he fights one of these UFC guys, he calls the shots. When he fights Usyk, there has to be negotiations. Right? There has to be negotiations. And Tyson Fury feels like, hey, man, I'm the big superstar here. Usyk, you know, nobody really cares about you, man. And by the way, he's not really lying when he says that, because the casual boxing fans don't really even know who Usyk is on that level. So, you know, to us, yeah, it's meaningful, but he's not really lying. He is the star. But when it comes to these MMA guys, it's like, no, I call the shots. You know, you're coming to my world, I'll call the shots, man. And that's about it. You're getting paid $10 million, which is the biggest payday that you'll ever have. You're gonna just say yes to everything.
Hey, Ed, let me ask you a question, guys. Do we really care that much about Tyson Fury to talk 15 minutes about him?
No, I do. Okay,
Wait.
man.
Come on. You know what I mean? We're giving this guy 15 minutes of our time that we can't get back to talk about this bomb. You know what I mean? There's better guys. Let's talk about Canelo. Let's talk about Charlo. We've given this vato 15 minutes of our time. Out, you know?
Let-
A la brava. Huevo.
Okay, let's talk about something that nobody's really talking about. Okay, so Munguia versus Berlanga. Apparently, there's talks, there's negotiations going on. Oscar De La Hoya came out and said they're not negotiating anymore. Negotiations are done. The fight's not happening. Okay, Keith Idec reported that Berlanga's team came out and said, "Oh, well, first of all, De La Hoya said that hey, it was too hard to work with Berlanga's team, that they stopped negotiations." Berlanga's team came out and said, "We don't know what Oscar's talking about. We're still in negotiations. There hasn't been put anything on hold, or nobody canceled anything. The negotiations are ongoing. So everybody calmados, this is still possibly gonna happen." But Oscar came out and said, like, "No, it's negotiations are done." Mark, what's your thoughts on this, man?
I think it's a smart move, man, because he just got with Freddie Roach. We don't know what we're gonna see, and then he's gonna put one of his prize stars, and he doesn't have too many stars left. So you're gonna put that dude that just started with Freddie Roach in a big time fight. Let's see what he's got with Freddie Roach first. I mean, Oscar's full promoter, man. They lie. We hate all the promoters. I mean, he's full promoter now. He's not our hero anymore. He's not our Chicano hero. He's full promoter. He's gonna lie and say bullshit, and he's gonna be Don King, Bob Arum. We hate him traditionally. It's what it is, and it's a smart move, man. Give him some time to get with Freddie Roach. Let them get their groove on, get a couple of fights under, and then we'll see him. It's unfortunate because we've been waiting for Munguia to come out blasting for a while, but it's unfortunate that he lost Terrible. Now he's gonna get a later, stage in his career. You can't go back to Alcazar. You're gonna go to Freddie. I mean, now he's got to learn Freddie's style. So,
he has to learn Freddie's vocabulary.
Yeah, también,
Well,
I don't think they'll have a problem there. Pero pues, yeah, there's an adjustment period. It's a good move.
I can't understand Freddie. I can't understand Freddie.
It is tough.
Yeah.
It is tough. It is tough.
I thought you made the language there, man. I hope you weren't going there, but
Oscar's got a masterful way of always making it about him.
yeah.
So now everybody's pissed and talking shit about Oscar, and nobody's fucking worried about Munguia. Oscar will take it for the team, bro. That's why he's our hero. All right, move on.
David D, who is somebody lying? Who's lying here? Berlanga's side. Berlanga's side is saying like, no, we're still in negotiations. We don't know what Oscar's talking about. Or is Oscar lying, man? What's going on here?
Clearly, Oscar's lying. He lies a lot. He's been caught in lies. He's always said he's been proven wrong time and time again. And if he's not lying, and if he really is thinking about pulling Munguia out of these negotiations, I think that's a huge mistake. I think Munguia would be favored to beat Berlanga. For a long time, Oscar was trying to push Munguia towards Benavides. And I thought that was the bad move. Like, you don't want to put him in with that guy. You want to put him in with Berlanga, because I think that's a winnable fight for Munguia, regardless of who his trainer is. I think he beats Berlanga. I mean, I wouldn't say easily, but I think he's definitely favored to win that fight. And that's the kind of fight he needs to propel his name, get it bigger, because he's a popular guy. And if he gets Berlanga under his belt, it would even elevate him even more. I definitely say Oscar's lying, and he'd be stupid and crazy to kill that fight.
I would say he's promoting.
Okay, David, what's
let me ask you a question, Ed.
Yeah.
When have you ever met a drug addict that you trusted with your kids? Say, hey, man, babysit me because me and my wife, we're going to go up for a movie. Have you ever left your kids with a drug addict? Have you?
Well,
of course not, right?
Well,
of course not.
Only when I was drugged up.
Okay, well, you were drugged up, all right? Second of all, when has a drug addict ever said the truth? And especially when that tweet that when he sent that at 1 o'clock in the morning, everybody's asleep at 1 o'clock in the morning. Who's not? The coke fiends. You know what I mean, dude? Once again, we have another me, myself, and Irene. Now, if we would have had Eric Gomez send out the tweet, that vato straight up. You know what I mean? If he's going to use coke, it's going to be in the morning, not at 9 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? I would believe it. It's Oscar de la Hoya. Come on, guys. We should know by now. I work with dope fiends. I know how they work. I know how they think. Here's another Tyson Fury, another Oscar de la Hoya. If it came from Eric Gomez, I would believe it. And I'm with you 100%, David, on that. I got Jaime Munguia winning this fight. And I think you got two C-level fighters fighting Mexico and the United States. It's going to sell out. They're going to make a lot of money. You got C-level fighters, but still Mexico against Puerto Rico. I'm not United States, Puerto Rico. It's a great fight. But Oscar, once again, that's what it is. Who we fooling?
And you know what, Joaquin, I'm kind of with you. I think he probably put that out there, one, for what David is saying, but two, it's probably just a negotiation tactic to say, like, hey, you know what? We're out of here. We're not going to be interested. Then we put it out to the public. So now people put pressure on the Berlanga side. I also, Impala, you're right. So there were those talks, man, of Munguia fighting John Ryder. I think that's a bad move for the Munguia team, man. If they go down that route, I got John Ryder if that actually happens. But right now, it looks like they're looking for the Berlanga fight. Does that happen or not? I think Munguia puts it to Berlanga. Berlanga's good, man. He's just not good. He's popular, but he's not good, man. I think Munguia I think he beats him. Not because Munguia is that good, but because Berlanga's that bad.
But you know what, Ed? There I could see maybe a trilogy with those two. You know what I mean? Because I don't think it's going to be a first round knockout. I think it'd be a fight that, oh man, I can't wait for part two. Because I'm not unos chingazos los dos that it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be a good fight to watch. Two C-level fighters, country against country. So there, I could see them making more money in the future, not just a one fight deal. Yeah, if they're smart, that's what they would be looking at.
And David, there's that history of the Mexican fighters and the Puerto Rican fighters always bringing out the best of each other. Yeah, and it'd be like a Gatti Ward at 168.
Yeah, and I don't think it's two C-level fighters. I think it's a F+ versus a C- fighter, man. Wow. Berlanga is not good, man. He is not. Berlanga is not good. Shout out to the
I was being nice.
Shout outs to all the Boricuas, man. I've said it many times. Boxing is much better when you have some great Puerto Rican fighters, man. Let's go Xander Zayas, man. Hey, gentlemen, just to close it out, man. I mean, there's a lot more news that we didn't get to because we took so much time on Tyson Fury. But let's go ahead and let's just touch on Canelo. You know, Putazos y Pendejadas, you guys are out there in Texas, man. The undercard, you know, I don't know if anybody has seen the undercard. It's actually a pretty damn good undercard, man. You got Dennis Ugas going up against Mario Barrios. You got who am I missing here? Who did I say? Dennis Ugas going up against
Barrios.
Barrios. You got Erickson Lubin going up against Mono Ramos. You got
I like that fight.
Yeah, that's a really good one. You got a good undercard there. Mark or David D, I'll start with you, man. Okay. I lived in Texas for about 5-6 months. Okay. I've never been to a state that was so proud of being from that state, from their own state. You know, I've been to multiple states. Sure, I see some state pride, you know, California, I don't know. There's not too much pride. A lot of people from California moved here from other places, but the people that live here in Cali, yeah, there's pride. But Arizona, Nevada, you know, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida.
What about East LA?
East LA, they're proud more. They're proud more of being from East Los.
Exactly,
than being from Texas. Yeah. But when I went to Texas, I'd never seen a state where I was just like, wow, they are like super proud of being Texan. David D, what's the thoughts over there of Canelo getting in there with a Texan and Jermell Charlo, man? Is the state, especially when it comes to raza, you know how much mainly raza, cheers for the guy, the raza, but you got a Texan, man. Like how does that go, man?
It's an interesting dynamic. Mark and I touched on that when that fight was first made. And to kind of touch on what you were saying about people being so proud of being Texan, you got to understand, man, Texas was its own country at one point. Like that's some serious shit. Like that's embedded deep in us. Like we're different from everybody else. And if we needed to hold some shit down, if the country collapsed, Texas would still be able to rally up and hold down the borders. That said, though, the dynamics are really different, and especially when you talk about Houston. Houston, like the blacks and the Mexicans over there, they get along really well. There's a mutual respect there. There isn't this divide, right? When you generally think about race relations in other states, there's usually a divide between different ethnicities. It's not like that in Houston. So we pondered that question ourselves. Who would the Houston folks push for, right? Would they push for Canelo? Would the raza in Houston push for Canelo? Or would they push for Charlo, who's one of their own, specifically the Houston raza? I honestly can't answer that for you. I think when it comes to hometown, you're going to represent hometown, but it just depends on how long you've been in the country. If you're from Mexico and you go straight to Houston and you've only, you're first generation, you're probably going to go for Canelo. But if you've been in the country, you were raised there, your parents were born here in the United States, and you were raised in Houston, you're probably going to show love to Charlo because he's one of your own. I think it's a toss-up, man. Honestly, myself, I'm a first generation. My parents were from Mexico. I was raised in Dallas. I got a lot of love for Mexico, but I also support those from where I come from, right? Because they grew up the same way I did. I'm kind of torn. I like Charlo. I like Jermell. I think Jermell is a great fighter. I think he's a really, really, really good fighter. I liked him better than his brother Jamal.
Oh, yeah.
So when this fight was announced, I was happy it was Jermell and not Jamal, because I thought Jermell had more potential to win this fight because he's got a little bit of a dog in him that's different. It's different. He wants to challenge himself. He sought out undisputed at 154, whereas Jamal tried to get his WBC title and he wanted a big fight right away. He wanted straight GGG, or he didn't want to try to unify, is what I'm saying. That said, I'm torn myself. Canelo, Jamal, I'm just hoping for a good fight in the end. That's what I'm looking for.
But who do you think's going to win? Forget about who you love or who you don't. Who do you think's going to win and how?
I think Canelo wins it. I honestly think Canelo wins it. People are down on Canelo because he lost to Bivol and he didn't look great against Ryder, but he dominated Ryder, and Ryder was motivated and trained. I had watched the camps for that. I was following them, and I knew, like I've heard through various people, Ryder was very motivated to win that fight. So it wasn't a fluke that he lasted the 12 rounds. That wasn't a fluke. Like he trained for that, and he's a tough guy. He's never been stopped before. So for Canelo to go 12 rounds with him, that's not a stain on his resume. He dominated the guy. He beat him. So for people, people are kind of down saying Canelo's on his way out. I don't think so. I think he's going to switch it up another gear. I think Charlo's going to give him a good fight. I wouldn't. Mark's a little more worried than I am about this, but I think Canelo comes out on top, and I say unanimous decision.
Okay, hey, Raider, that's what I was saying. That I agree with you, man. California, you're more proud of the city that you're from, more than anything else, man. Okay, Mark Anthony, man. I mean, if you had to be handing out shirts, or what shirts are you gonna hand out more, man? Tejanos for Charlo or Tejanos for Canelo, man? Let us have it, Mark.
David's correct, man. Está cabrón, está cabrito to choose because, I mean, I'm from South Texas, which is basically Mexico. And pues down here, everybody's Tejano. And we're deep South Texas. We're talking south of San Antonio. So I can tell you down here, it's pro Canelo big time, pero somos Tejanos, man. We love Tejano. We love Tejano music, conjunto music. We're from Texas, so you do have that pride. We are pretty much predominantly first generation Americans, you know. But even if you're from South Texas and you're third or fourth generation, eres Mexicano. I mean, you're from South Texas. And so most people are going for Canelo. I'm going for Canelo. I would be handing out Canelo shirts. But si gana Charlo, I'm not going to be mad porque pues ganó un Tejano, right? You know, and he's from Houston. Houston, like David said, it's very different, man. You can be Chinese, Indian, African from Africa, whatever. You're from Houston, man. You go to the Houston rodeo, you wear boots. If you're Chinese, I mean, you're hee-hawing and, you know, clapping for the state. And that's what it is. Houston is different. A lot of people are riding with Charlo. Me and David just did an interview with a boxer from Mexico City, El Huracan. He's 5-0 from Houston. And we asked him, and he's from Mexico, and he was like, "Don't put me on the spot," you know. And when I say he's from Mexico, guys, this guy's trainer is Salvador Sanchez. Salvador Sanchez is his sparring partner.
His sparring partner. Okay.
Yes. And you know, so he's from Mexico City. His sparring partner's from Mexico City. Yeah. We call him El Maestro, Salvador Sanchez's sparring partner. Even he's going for Charlo. So yeah, it's divided here in Texas. It's divided now. The way I think it's gonna go is I also think Canelo's gonna beat him. I don't think it's gonna be easy. I'm a little bit scared, to be honest with you. Just the size. I mean, that's a free safety for the Raiders there, man. That kid is tall. His athleticism, he does everything right. He's got really, really long arms, man. And he can bang, he can move, he's got good footwork. He's been taught by Ronnie Shields, man, and Virgil Hunter. And these guys turned pro at 17. They've been fighting since high school, way. So, and this, we're talking about the meaner Charlo, man. This guy le vale madre, way. And he's been quiet. And the reason that it scares me a lot more, I saw a podcast with him the other day, and he mentioned this. He kind of went public already and just said, look, my brother is going through what he's going through. And then he said, I can see him losing his home and not being able to pay the bills because he's not going to be able to come back from a 27-month, you know, layoff doing what he's doing right now and hanging out who he's hanging out with. It's important for him to win this fight because he can see family in the future coming him and asking him for money. So there's a lot weighing on him. Like, it's his family he's fighting for right now. If you notice, he hasn't been talking a lot of shit the way he usually does. He's taking it very serious. He's quiet, and it scares me.
Oh, I see that quote on the chat. I see that message.
You see that?
Hey, there's no doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. There's a lot of talent in California.
There is.
I was just, I lived in South Texas. I lived in South Texas, man, in Harlingen. Way down South Texas, man.
That's 20 minutes east of me. That's Mexico.
yeah. That's why it's like a little Mexico, man. The biggest city I think was McAllen.
That's right where I'm at.
Yeah, so I was just like kind of blown away. Like, wow, man, they're like super duper proud. Like, I don't even know if they can't, I heard anybody say that they're Mexican. They just call themselves Tejano. Like, they're super duper proud. And I've heard that. It's a little bit torn, man, with the Canelo and Jermell Charlo thing. So, but man, as we're getting closer and closer to the fight, it's kind of been dry, boxing. There's not a lot going on, man, at least when it comes to big fights. Even this weekend is a little bit dry, but there's always
Savache Torres tomorrow on
I think is it
Sábado de Boxeo.
The Azteca.
Yes.
Yeah.
Savache Torres was going to fight Murataya. It fell off.
Yeah.
And I believe that guy can beat Murataya. He's at 135. Savache Torres. He's going to show
really?
It tomorrow. Dave, here we go, David.
I'm going to watch him. Yeah.
He doesn't have the resume. I've got a
He
resume.
fought in Mexico. That's all the resume you need, man. The guy's 16. The guy's 17-0 with 16 knockouts, bro.
Hey, Mark, I can be 17-0 and 16 knockouts if you fight me against the guy that sells nachos, the guy that sells the pizza, the guy that sells hamburgers. You match me up right, I can be 17-0 too.
Hey, Mark, when is he fight? When is he fighting and where?
Tomorrow
Is he going to be televised?
Tomorrow night, Sábado de Boxeo on Azteca. He's a big thing in Mexico right now, man.
Is he really? Okay, yeah, I'm going to watch it.
You got a lot of guys coming up in Mexico.
Okay.
And he's stepping up this time. He's got a pretty decent fighter that he's fighting this time.
Yeah, he is stepping up. He's fighting in Hermosillo. No, he's fighting a guy from Hermosillo who used to train with Alfredo Caballero, man. So
Really?
yeah, so that he's good.
Hey, Ed, next week we got some good fights next week, Ed.
Yes. Camarón fights next week.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll definitely be all over that, man. With that, we'll go ahead and bring it to a wrap right there. If anybody's interested in my boys down here, man, you guys can go check them out on Putazos y Pendejadas. I'm going to go ahead and leave the link pinned in the comment section. So it'll be the first link you guys see. Just tap on that. It'll take you to the homies down here, man, right to the channel. Go show them some love. They're doing some good things over there, man. Straight out of Texas, man. But they're covering it worldwide, man. They're letting you guys know what happens in Japan and all over the place. David, any last words?
Hey, guys, are you guys on live the way we are, or do you guys pre-record your shows?
We pre-record.
Orale, because you're from Texas.
I'm very impressed on how you guys know how to run it live. I assume it's hard. I'm going to let David try it, but
it's easy. It's easier than pre-recording.
Yeah,
it's easier than pre-recording. So when does your show come out? 'Cause I'm gonna subscribe. When does it come out? What day do you guys usually release your feed?
We try to drop a video once a week. Lately, our schedule kind of got whirlwinded because David is an educator. He's a teacher, so he started.
Really, thank you. Thank you for your service.
School right now, and you know, at the beginning for educators, the first 3 weeks, I know because a lot of my family are educators, it's really tough on them. So right now, we're trying to drop one every single week. We don't have an actual date, but we will be dropping one every single week. We have been since about February. It's been going pretty good. I remember we started out, we would only have about a few hundred views, not even, maybe like 60 views, 70 views. Now, you know, we're hitting the 500s, 400s, 1,000 of you. We hit 35,000 on one. We're just we're hitting numbers, trying to find that magic potion that you guys have to get subscribers.
Hey, guys, so how did you guys come up with the name Putazos y Pendejadas? How'd you come up with a name?
We were throwing them around, and I wanted to use putazos and something else, and I remember we're throwing shit out, right? And David threw a few of them out that we want to use later. We don't want to put them out there because they're pretty good, but we had 3, right? And I had said putazos and David cut me off. He goes, just kidding. He goes, putazos y pendejadas, and I was like, putazos y pendejadas. I was like, hey, that's pretty good. He goes, I'm kidding, way. And then that's good.
That's a cool name, man.
And
That's
then,
cool.
you know, we feel it opens the door to do some comedy or just talk bullshit. And you know what we're doing here? Estamos pendejeando, you know. It's not the most professional name in the world, but
it's hard to get it on credentials, right?
No, it's a good catchy name, man.
We like it. People like it. We've had really good feedback in the comments about it, so you know we're sticking with it. We've been really struggling with a logo, but I think we finally caught on with one, and we're going to keep it. It's the one that you saw on that last video that I did on Nakatani and Arji Cortez. No, it was on Nakatani and Amazing Boy. That's the new logo, but it's tough to find a logo and a branding, man. I really like Urals with the 3 dogs. That's pretty cool. We're not nowhere near Urals level, but we do watch and try to learn.
Cool. Hey, well, you got a new subscriber. Right now, after we finish, I'm going to be subscribing. I'm going to get my family subscribed too.
Yeah.
We get some new
yeah.
fighters. Yeah.
Hey, man.
It seems like it's easier to do it the way you guys do it. Pre-recording, chinga, man, and then editing is. Whew, and David does most
we're
of
live.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That cabrón, man.
Sí está.
I
Yeah.
thought,
Hey.
chinga, I'm just gonna make some videos and make $1 million, but no mames, it's chingo of work, man.
Hey, well, to all the chingones watching us, man, go check them out. Give them a try, man, and
Yes.
see what you guys think. All right. But that's my man Mark. There's David D, Putazos y Pendejadas. From my man David Contreras, Cholo Chucky, Los Tres Chingones Boxing. We'll catch you guys on next round.